So we Koreans seemingly are dramatic people. We seem to have a flair for dramatics. And I know that might be a broad statement and I might be overgeneralizing, but here, watch this clip.
뭐냐?
And this sort of seeps into how we do church as well. We are very dramatic when we pray. Sometimes a prayer over a meal can take about 15 minutes depending on who's praying for the meal and what kind of show they want to put on. And a lot of times I get really annoyed because we have like hot soup, and by the time the prayer is over, the soup is no longer hot. It's just warm, and no one likes warm soup. Not only do our prayers become long, but we have fist shakes and chest pounds, and we use words that are really like equivalent to King James Version of English, and crying on the name of the Lord, crying out to the name of the Lord like Juyo, and all that stuff rolled into one prayer that seems very dramatic. And I mentioned this because when I was in youth ministry at a Korean church, a lot of kids thought that was how you were to pray. You were supposed to use these fancy words, and you're supposed to use these dramatics, these intonation of voices, and the crescendos and decrescendos in our prayers and all that stuff. Because they didn't know enough SAT vocabulary words, because they didn't know how to pray for 10 minutes over a blessing of the meal, because they didn't know enough Bible verses to quote in prayer, because they didn't know how to speak in tongues, and because they didn't know, for lack of a better word, how to perform when it came to prayer. They didn't know how to pray. And I remember youth telling me, because I don't know how to pray the right way, I just don't pray. And I wonder if there are people out there who struggle with this idea that there's a right way to pray, and because they don't know what the right way to pray is, they simply don't pray. When Nathaniel came to us as a foster child, he was 3.5 years old, and he came to us with only 5 words. And those 5 words were beer, kaka, cheers, wawa, and woo-woo. Wawa is water, and woo-woo is his blanket that he still has to this day. And when we finally got him diagnosed with autism, we started therapy. We started speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. And the speech therapist asked us, what is your goal with Nathaniel and our time together? And I simply said, I just want to be able to communicate with him. And so over the years now, Nathaniel has been progressing in his speech, and now we're actually able to have conversations with him, and it's really, really cool. And nowadays we're trying to work on his grammar so that he says things the right way, mainly so that he can communicate with strangers and with other people. But the fact that he's able to talk to us is a huge thing, and I wouldn't want him to ever feel that he can't talk to us. A lot of times we say use your words, or when he's sad, or when we can tell that something's not right, we want him to share with us with what's going on in his world. And in those moments where I want to know why he might be sad or why he might be hurting, for me, I don't care if he can't string a proper sentence as long as he communicates with me. And I know a lot of parents, all they want, especially when their kids become teenagers, is to just let them in a little bit, to open up their world to the parents just a little bit, to tell the parents what's going on in their world. A lot of times we parents just want to be able to consistently communicate with our kids, and therefore we don't want to hinder the way that our kids talk to us in any way or form, right? And I would dare say that as long as our kids are opening up to us, there's no really right way for them to do so. We just want them to communicate with us. And most parents wouldn't require their kids to use SAT vocabulary words or some Elizabethan or Victorian or King James version of English when talking to them. We wouldn't want them to say things like, dearest mother and most venerable father, I beseech you at this hour to seek your presence so that I may asketh of you of your guidance, to somehow help me deal with this lingeringeth pain that is in the depth of this heart of mine. I mean, wouldn't you just want your kid to come up to you and just talk to you as they are? If my kid came up to me and talked to me like that, and I'd be like, hey, just why are you talking like that? Just talk to me. It's okay. And know that I love you. Isn't that all we want our kids to know? And honestly, I like to think that's how God views us. God doesn't want these elaborate prayers when we're coming to talk to God. God just wants us to be ourselves and present all that we are to God and just open up to God. God would see our vague attempts to try to impress God through our prayers, because we don't pray to impress God, we pray to talk to God. When kids come up to us and tell us about their struggles, we don't want them to impress us with this grasp of language. We just want them to tell us what's going on so that we can listen and so that we can love them the best way that we can. So when people ask me, so how do you pray? I simply tell them, just pray. And then I started realizing that's not the best advice, because if they're coming to ask me how to pray, it's because they don't really know how to pray. So I give them often like 2 formulaic prayers to help them get started, or 3 if you count the Lord's Prayer. First is the one with the fingers, like the thumb is the closest to you, so you pray for the people who are nearest and dearest to you. This one points and instructs, so you pray for all those who are teaching you, instructing you, and the middle finger is the tallest, so you're supposed to pray for those who are in authority, who are in charge, and you use the finger to pray for them and not to, the ring finger is often viewed as the weakest finger, I guess, and so you pray for those who are vulnerable, and this pinky finger is the smallest. It's supposed to symbolize our smallness compared to God, so the pinky is when we pray for ourselves. Or there's the ACTS prayer, right? ACTS. A is for adoration. You start off prayer with adoring God. C is for confession. T is for thanksgiving. And S is for supplication. That's when you start asking for things that you might need help with. But prayer above all things is an act of communication with God. There is no perfect prayer. There is no formulaic prayer where A plus B plus C equals the best prayer. Prayer is simply how you choose to talk to God. And so therefore, there is really no wrong way to talk to God. What matters is that we continue to talk to God. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is don't get caught up in trying to find the right way to pray. Don't stress yourself out by trying to find the perfect prayer. Instead, just simply remember to pray. And it's going to be awkward, as I mentioned in the last video, when you first start, because you might not know exactly what to do or what to say. But I promise you, it will get smoother. It will get less awkward. It will feel more natural the more we pray. Pray when you're taking a walk. Pray when you're prepping dinner. Pray when you're washing the dishes. Pray when you're going out for a drive. Just simply remember to communicate and commune with God. That is the most important thing that we can do. There is no right way or wrong way to approach God as long as we are approaching God. Let it be spontaneous. Let it be silly. It's okay if you want to vent your frustrations at God. It's okay if all you can muster up is angry words at God. And it's okay if you just want to sit there and thank God too. Or just say, you know what, this is a beautiful sunset. My God, thank you. Also, prayer doesn't have to be in words. Just simply sitting in the presence of God and being silent is prayer too. Don't get caught up in trying to find the right way to pray so that you stress yourself out and you don't pray. Just simply find ways to be in communion and communication with God. So may you continue to engage God, whether it's through laughter or through tears or through frustrations or through praise. May you simply continue to engage God in prayer and deepening your prayer life, and therefore deepening your relationship with God. See you next week.